Have you checked the children?
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
Fuego here.
Robert Duell.
And we are back to do a review of what would have been one of the big budget releases of 2020. Fuego and I actually saw this movie months ago when there was a pre-screening for it in a theater. And then we did the screening, I think, on a Monday, and then the following Tuesday they announced, oh, we're pushing the release. So Fuego and I saw an early screening, and then they're like, no, we're pushing it back months from now.
Yeah, we literally walked out of the theater, and the people from, I can't remember if it was Allied or Finger Paint or whatever,
It's
but they were,
Allied.
yeah, it was Allied, and they were like, oh, we didn't realize you guys were going to be here, because we're delaying this movie, and we're like, what?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's been that kind of year, as you guys all know.
But we are here to finally talk about it. All three of us have seen this, although Fuego and I saw it on the big screen, and Robert saw it most recently. So
It was a 50-inch, it was big enough.
Yeah, we're going to rely on yeah, we're going to
Hello!
just might rely a little more on you, so there. Sir.
Exactly, that's what I'm getting at.
Well, shit.
But we'll do this review like we do normally, all of our reviews, which are the overall thoughts, then we'll talk about the acting, the effects, the story, and the blah, 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 all that good stuff in
Yeah.
turn.
It's
Totally.
a disaster movie.
Yeah, it is. It's just a new
Which
version
you
of a
have a soft
disaster
spot
movie.
for.
I do. I love big budget disaster movies. Ever since Independence Day, the very first one that I encountered, everything after that I've really been on board for, even though
2012, San Andreas.
even though I
stuff
don't
like
like
that.
them necessarily, I can't help but go see them. And this is another one in that line of thought. But I got to be honest, I felt like for my overall thoughts, I enjoyed this more than quite a few of them because it was so much more character driven than it was about the stuff going on. It cut to way less big wide shots of things going on in other cities because it didn't matter. What mattered was what was going on around your characters.
And most of them saw it on TV as opposed to actually showing
Because
it in
they
big
weren't
spectacle.
actually there, you know.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. They kept it closer to the characters instead of going big and wide with it. And I think that did the movie a tremendous service.
But even those
Quite
like
frankly.
the shockwave scenes and everything when they showed those were really well done.
Yeah. So overall, I quite enjoyed this movie. I actually enjoyed it way more than I thought I was going to be honest.
Yeah, I'm actually right there with you, man. I thought this was going to be another, a couple of stuff I mentioned already, San Andreas in 2012, and even the Independence Day sequel. I thought it was going to be big, dumb, and yet not fun, and just stupid, unfortunately. This had a lot more going on, and it felt so much more grounded for this sort of large-scale disaster thing. I know that it's probably tough for a lot of people to stomach in the kind of year that we've had, but I mean, performance-wise especially, and we'll get into that like deeper with the acting, but I thought Gerard Butler and his wife from Deadpool, who I don't know the name of the
Marina
actress.
Baccarin.
Yes,
she
Anara.
she is beautiful, and yep, that's his Firefly reference, obviously. But yeah, she's terrific. I mean, I thought all of the performances, even some of the supporting people, that as they're trying to make their way through this crazy landscape where story-wise will
husband and wife
tackle,
couple.
yeah, where it's basically like a lottery of important people. We'll get into that in the story, but I thought that was ingenious as far as just putting forth a paradigm where their friends are like, well, I didn't get one of those. What's going on? You're just like,
But when you find out why people were selected, honestly,
it kind of made sense.
It did
man.
make sense, and that's
Yeah.
really how it would probably be in one of these situations.
And the realism was another thing that I will point out that I enjoyed this a lot. I didn't like the third act and the ending as much as I thought I was going to, but aside from that, man, it put together some grim scenarios that seemed very believable to me. So I didn't love it, but I was really unexpectedly impressed with this. So
Robert.
Okay. So going again on that third man echo.
dang.
One of these days I'll
Sorry.
remember to have you go first.
Hey, often
whatever.
I'm the third. And
Yeah,
I'm just
exactly.
Like, well,
It's a role reversal.
Yeah.
But no, honestly, I
That's what you get. It's the hazing, noob.
shut up, hooker. No, again, it goes. I'm not a big disaster movie type of person. San Andreas, 2012, all those, like, I don't like those movies. This
I'm a-
Geostorm.
My name is
Thank
Cecil.
you. That was the other one I was trying to think of.
Geostorm! My name is Cecil, and I'm a disaster porn addict.
I actually like those two
we're
Swedish
looking for
ones that they
meetings.
did. It was like the Wave and the Quake or something.
Those
like
were
that.
good.
Those were really good.
like
actually.
Deep Impact, like back in
I
the
like
day.
that.
like-
Hey, Deep Impact.
but
was
that's the thing is
that
those
was
were
the
still
smarter.
Volcano,
Yeah,
Dante's
those,
Peak.
Yeah,
well,
that was
okay.
when they were putting out the
Dante's
same-
Peak, they like
Disaster movies,
Yeah,
nonetheless.
but
Yeah.
they're pyroclastic and all those floats. They
Enjoyable.
didn't have,
Still
They just
enjoyable.
didn't have that stuff lined
That
up.
was the
right.
mid '90s
But-
where there was like one dumber version and one smarter version
Yeah.
that came out in the same
It
year.
wasn't.
But
It
that's
wasn't
the thing,
quite like theatrical and asylum level,
No,
though.
but
Yeah.
out of like the volcano movies, like Dante's Peak and Volcano with Tommy Lee Jones are the better ones of those.
There's always a better brother of those two kinds of movies when they come out.
Yeah.
But those
or like
two are the
the-
ones that stick out versus for those like,
Sure.
the
Yeah,
disaster movies.
yeah, or like Doherty's Krampus versus the Reckoning Krampus or whatever the hell
Right.
that
Oh,
crap
Yeah.
was.
But real quick on a wrap up.
Hi,
I
Dave.
know the filmmaker behind that.
Hi, Dave.
Shout out both of you.
Yeah.
All right, so
Sorry.
real quick. Yeah, I definitely enjoyed this a hell of a lot
He
more
takes
than.
control.
I enjoyed this a hell of a lot more than I thought I was.
He takes control.
But again, it goes back to our actors and even the little sub characters that we had. And I mentioned briefly there was a run-in with a husband and wife character after a separation at the military base when they were trying to get on these carriers.
Sure.
And that scene right there, for anyone who's a parent, recent parent, and everything, that
Actually, I watched this before becoming a parent. I should have I didn't get to rewatch.
Oh, you son of
I
a
should have
bitch.
rewatched now that my son is born.
Yeah,
But
see-
I have something to say about
Okay,
that. But
but
I'm not going to
that
step on
scene in particular would hit home with a lot of people in this type of like situation because it's basically
Dude, I cried
anyone,
at minute 10 of this movie. And I'll tell you why.
What the
It
hell
ties
happened
into
at
your
minute
point.
10?
When they're trying to get away and someone tries to give them something
Oh,
to take with them.
yeah. Well, and that goes again too. It's like it's
As a parent, that as a almost
the
parent,
chosen,
when I watched this,
the chosen kind of
that
thing.
made me. Okay, sorry, I'm stepping on you. Go ahead,
No.
finish
No,
your
you're
overall
good.
thoughts.
Stop on me.
Boy, oh boy. We just finished covering Hellraiser.
Yeah,
so
we're
all about
on the little bondage
self-torture.
kick, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, it was the same sort of vibe what you're referring to as, even though I really did not care for Peninsula that much, it was the same sort of thing we see at the beginning of that movie, where that family is like just pleading with these people to like, don't even take us, take our child.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Yeah, the more importance aspect, and it's real
The
shit that's
self-sacrifice
gonna happen
aspect.
in those disasters. And the thing, it still does actually happen.
Well, that's what rang so true to me about this. So diving into the story.
Yeah.
So it's about Gerard Butler and his wife Marina Baccarin, estranged wife,
yeah.
right, and their kid, right? They have a kid.
Yep.
Yeah,
son.
I'm like, they have a kid, right? But yeah, so they're estranged, but she is the one that is desired by the government.
No, he
Oh, he is,
Yeah.
and she. So
He
the
gets-
family goes.
Yeah,
he gets the thing.
He gets the
He's a-
text alert while they're
yeah.
at that party
He's an
with
architect.
saying,
friends of
"Hey,
theirs.
go to this thing. Don't hesitate.
Mm-hmm.
Just go." And they're at like a big family event
Yeah,
with neighbors and everything, and they're like, a big, sort of emergency alert goes across the TV,
No,
and
they're
it's
all
like,
watching the news.
yeah, and they get the specific alert to them
Yeah,
across their TV.
their name, all three of
Their
names,
names
like,
saying,
wait,
proceed
what?
to this, and all of their friends are like, wait, what? What's going on?
Yeah.
And so it turns out that one of them is indispensable to the government, so the family is invited along on this very 2012-esque arc, right? There's a bunch of,
Well, especially in the third act, yeah.
things of arcs where there's a specific people in society are allowed to go in order to continue society after this extinction level event is going to happen. An asteroid or fragments of a meteor or asteroid are going to impact Earth and
I'm trying to
affect
remember
a lot
Well,
if it's,
more.
if it's a
Origin-
meteor or
Go
a
ahead,
comet.
Robert, you
I
tell
forget.
me.
Originally and everything, they were just small, tiny little fragments that were hitting. The big Mamma Jamma was our final, larger than the dinosaurs kind of thing.
Right.
Because initially they're like, oh, this is going to be a whatever sort of situation, and yet obviously
You can't
the
Armageddon
government
this and everything and plant some bombs up in there.
Exactly, you can't Def Leppard Armageddon it.
Right.
I mean, that's just not possible.
So it turns out that it is a much more serious situation than they thought. So it's even worse than the impact from Deep Impact, right? Because
Well,
most
that was
of most
that
of
was
the
two
world,
different ones, if I remember.
right? But the
correctly, right?
second one was just the size of Texas, and
Yeah.
they blew it up enough to distract it, and everyone was still salvageable after Earth.
Well,
I
spoilers,
liked.
Tay Leone still died on that beach.
True,
with her
true, but without
father or
spoiling the
whatever.
end of this one, without spoiling
Someone's
the end,
still salty.
Yeah, without spoiling the end
Made
of
me
this one,
sad.
because we're not here to spoil, I will say that this has a much more engaging and finite ending to the movie.
Well, it had
I
a warmer family aspect that was it
but it
tied very
went
well.
further. Most movies end before we get what we got in
Yeah.
this movie.
True.
Yeah,
I will agree with that.
Yeah, good or bad, positive, negative, sad, whatever. There's resolution, at least at the
Right.
end of this movie, without spoiling.
No,
but
most definitely.
But yeah, so go ahead, Fuego.
yeah, man, I just want to say that story-wise specifically, even though I don't have a kid, that scene that we have talked about a few different times, I had anxiety from that
Oh,
scene.
that scene.
I
was
started
like,
not having
Yeah,
legit
I knew
started
exactly. Like, you could see it in his eyes and everything. Is like kind of darting back and forth, and he starts asking all these weird questions.
And
like,
also
So
And
what we're
also-
referring to,
and also the kid is pretty smart, too, I gotta
What we're
say.
referring to is after they've gotten this notification, they are leaving, and their neighbors have dispersed to
Oh,
their
that's not the
homes.
scene I was talking
No.
about.
No, but when they're driving out, someone tries
that
to give
scene,
them.
that
Oh.
scene,
Someone
that-
tries to give them the daughter to take with them.
Yeah.
They're like, look, if we can't go, just take her with you.
Yeah.
And the notification said you cannot bring anyone extra. And when someone was literally, they're breaking down saying, please don't worry about us, just take our kid. And I was like, fudge, I have a 4-year-old girl
But-
now, and that was hitting home. Like,
yeah.
I'm-
well, and
go ahead.
It's like
That's not the scene I was referring
Yeah.
to.
that's
Robert
the scene that got me.
Yeah, well, that's the thing though too. Is saying I'll quick come back on that. It goes to exactly what Gerard Butler said. We could take her, sure, but for what? Then just to leave her out at the gate?
Because they won't let her in with us.
Exactly.
So she'll have no one with her.
Exactly.
Yeah. But anyway, yes. So
But no-
so they know, and they have to try and get to this area, but things keep happening that have to separate them. That have to.
Their child's
you know,
diabetic.
Yeah, their child's diabetic. There's all kinds of wrinkles they run into while trying
But
to
they're
get
done
there
very
safely.
well, and they
They are, but I'm just trying to give the overall of the story.
Well, but
Yeah,
that's
so.
that's the nice thing. Like they definitely, you can tell with the writing of the story, they took time to think about these little details on. Well, what would these people come? Like, what type of people would these folks come across on this journey?
And they seem
Everyone's trying to survive. Even with people that are seemingly good intentioned, you still find out that there's no good intentions in the very end.
and the issues they encounter all seemed like plausible hurdles.
Exactly.
In my estimation, was one of
Exactly,
the best
yep.
things about the writing here.
So yeah, I mean that's basically it. Can the family get to safety? And what happens when everything comes crashing down? If it comes crashing down, P.S. It does come crashing down.
Almost.
So
definitely. They get
it's
splintered.
very, very interesting and engaging. And again, because it's so character focused, I just bought in a lot more for the story.
Yeah, and also good acting is what helps this really come
Oh,
across
yeah.
as sellable and just relatable as far as that anxiety, that emotion.
Good
and,
transition there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Robert, who are some of your favorite actors in the movie?
Honestly, there really no one. Okay, so no one particularly stuck out, but no one really fell behind either.
No one took me out of the movie.
Exactly.
Sure.
The one thing I would really, again, it goes back to kind of what Fuego and I were talking about with the whole, in a sense, it's a kidnapping scene.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah, it's a kidnapping scene. But the short time that we do have with those characters, like you can kind of see where they were coming from, but at the same time, completely flawed in their thinking of it. And yeah,
Yeah, it all deals with like dispersion of these little wristband things and these people thinking
That's-
just
yeah,
because
I
they
forgot about the
have this
wristbands.
child who has been gained access. I mean, they can be like, oh yeah, we just
Well,
don't
it
know
almost
where
works.
it's at."
Yeah,
Yeah,
almost.
It gets close.
yeah.
Yeah.
But nonetheless,
Smart
the
kid, though.
story's engaging. We all
Very
were
much so.
engaged with the
So.
story, and I think
Yeah.
the acting is what propped up the story. The story could have fallen short with lesser actors
Yeah,
for
with
sure, but I
Tammy
think
Goofy
everyone
performance.
did a really good job, and it helped keeping me engaged in the story and the acting throughout the whole movie. So I was on board, especially Marina Baccarin always is a
such a
tour de
great-
force. I mean, she's
so
always
gorgeous.
really, really
Yeah,
good.
but I mean,
Calm down,
beautiful
calm
and
down.
like very talented.
Dude, I
in
love
that
Anara,
regard as
right?
well.
She's a beautiful woman.
Well, and also I forget the name of the actor, but the one who plays her father, the grandfather, who is like terminally ill, if I remember correctly, and just some of the interactions with him and the goodbye and stuff like that stuff was just stuff was hard to deal with, man. There are a lot of difficult scenes to watch because it's like an essence of acceptance that so many of these characters and just the inevitable demise and staring that down, and it's just, and also Gerard's interaction with some of those people who basically help him out of the kindness of their heart after he gets separated from his family. I thought all that interaction was good. So even the supporting players, they held their end of the bargain and made sure that the baton wasn't dropped.
I still find it funny though, in those types of situations, like everyone seems to think that if you just beat the shit out of the dude with the wristband and you take the wristband, that you're just automatically going to be let in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a minor gripe, I think.
It is. No,
It's a bit of an
it
nitpick,
is.
but-
It is. But like going back though too, it's like with all the situations that we did have in this movie, that it elevated it to the point of believability.
True.
Along with obviously our actors and whatnot, because nothing was. It wasn't so overly done. Like again, going back to what we had in fucking 2012. Flying through, falling crap through LA or whatever the hell it was. Like, that was garbage.
Well, I've seen a lot of goofy disaster movies,
Yeah.
and I would not classify this as that at all, and that's
No.
why it was so much better.
Yeah, and so I think that I mean the movie
more of like
is
apocalypse
made
movie, huh?
really well. I mean it's obviously the cinematography is all good. It's a big budget movie. They put the money into it, so all of that works just fine. But I mean the sound design is good. The overwhelming crashes and booms and bangs, all that stuff works well.
Lots
but
of really intimate handheld that made you feel on edge and
Right.
anxious and stuff
Right.
too.
A
Like
bit,
you
yeah.
were right there in these
True.
crowded areas where people are pleading to be let in. Like I felt, I mean, even more so since we were in the theater for it, I really felt that sort of anxiousness. Like I was right there with these people from the way it was filmed.
True.
So,
But what I was driving at is the
Sorry.
effects of the movie. No. It was a good point. It's a good point. The effects of the movie, are they worth it? And yes, this is a big budget movie that is
Yeah.
only available on the small screens currently.
That's 2020.
Rather available.
Micro Machines plays.
It is. It has money behind it. All the effects are well done. It works, and it helps you buy into the story even more. So I think effects-wise, the movie's great.
Yeah, and yet it's not effects heavy. It didn't rely on that sort of disaster porn sort of presentation.
Right.
But yet when you did see it, I mean, I've seen some bad effects in some of these movies, man. And yet the fact that it didn't rely heavily, I think it actually gave them the opportunity to make sure those scenes looked even better as opposed to just the excessiveness you see in these movies. So
Agreed.
it was more tasteful and it made each bit look better. So
Did you say disaster porn?
yeah,
Oh,
that's,
yeah.
a, that's a
Okay.
term.
That's
dude.
exactly what
Okay,
it is.
That's a
okay.
different
I just
term,
wanted to
dude.
make sure I heard you
I
right.
said it earlier. but
Okay,
maybe
I
not,
just wanted to
maybe
make
not.
sure. No, like the effects were definitely fucking A plus. And the nice thing though too is like they didn't overly focus on them like what they more so do with a lot of the disaster movies. Your big focus is those disasters. This wasn't like it was the background focal of the story. It wasn't necessarily the main shot of the movie, which I think helped again just to propel this a little bit farther and be a more enjoyable movie. Well, most
Yeah,
of
it wasn't a Roland Emmerich disaster
No,
movie.
no.
Yeah.
It was a much more personal one.
Yeah,
So
not Dean Devlin-y, you know?
yeah, I mean, all in all, I think the movie is definitely worth your time and worth the money, quite frankly.
No, most
So
of it. Yeah.
Agreed.
definitely check it out, you guys. Any final thoughts from you guys on it?
No.
No?
Check it out if you guys haven't and everything. It's actually worth it.
Yeah, it's not your typical disaster-y sort of movie. So, yeah, I think it'll surprise a lot of you just like it did us.
Totally and everything.
Indubitably.
So check it out, guys. If you enjoyed the video, click the like button and subscribe. Thank you to all of our patrons for supporting the channel. More directly, the link to that is in the description box down below. If you want to give us movies that you want us to review, those reviews are dropping on our Patreon page all the time. So
Tell us what to do.
thank you very much for watching. Until next time, I've been Cecil Laird.
Gracias, Jaime, Fuego.
Robert Duell.
And remember, stay scared.